friends. This is Previously an X-Men from Group 7 Comics. This is a very special episode today because we're doing something we have not done before. We are going to watch the pilot for an X-Men cartoon that never happened. So some people think this pilot, titled Pryde of the X-Men, is the pilot for the X-Men animated series that we all know and love from 1992. For many people's childhoods, not mine. I was already a teenager at that point. But Chris here was just a wee baby. Oh, I should just say, firstly, I'm Jason Lapidus.
Hey, I'm Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of 7 Comics. We make comics. We have to talk about comics. We also love cartoons, movies, television, the whole lot, music, hamburgers. But we don't make those things. We do make comics. And in this case, we are looking at something that influences X-Men comics, X-Men cartoons, X-Men movies, X-Men action figures, X-Men video games, and X-Men fandom. This was a bit of a kind of a secret thing that kind of happened near the end of the 80s. And not everyone got to see it when it happened, but now it's free up on YouTube. The link is in the description below. So we're going to, in a couple minutes, start that video. And Chris and I are going to watch it with nostalgic and aged eyes and Chris's youthful virgin eyes. As Chris, you will be watching this for the first time.
Capital V. Capital V. What's yeah, I've never seen this before. Heard about it, but never seen it before.
Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of context, Chris. Are you ready for this?
I want all the context.
This is some serious, hard-hitting context that, some people like Chris here just love to get so much. So basically what we get is, the X-Men being a property that, Marvel starts at the end of the 60s, sorry, at the early part of the 60s. And they first get onto TV basically in like a Marvel kind of adventure hour. Marvel has these cartoons that they put together that were simply Jack Kirby drawings with as little animation as possible, like basically no animation. They would maybe move one or two body parts. They do a lot of zooming in, a lot of panning, but they would take these frames from Kirby drawings mostly and do voiceover and call it a cartoon. And it was, in 1966. And the X-Men first appear there in an episode that's basically Submariner and Doctor Doom. And they would have played the role of the Fantastic Four, but the Fantastic Four's rights were tied up for another cartoon. So they weren't able to. They just sub in the X-Men. They don't call them the X-Men. They call them
these guys.
Like Alliance of Good Guys, and Professor X summons them, and they look hilarious. And I'm happy to quickly show you what they look like. I'm just gonna go through my screenshots here, and I'll share one with you. It's so beautiful, and
Marvel Girl there looks like Medusa from the
Sure.
Ingredients.
Well, this is a replica of a panel. So these would be, I don't want to call them artists, but they're basically people. I mean, Beast only has 4 toes.
How many toes does Beast have?
Yeah, he's just got the 4.
8 in total.
And they're so adorable. So someone is looking at a Kirby panel, and they probably...
He's got 5 fingers, though, interestingly, on both hands.
They probably blew up a Kirby panel and then rendered it as quickly as possible again. So like Cyclops' one glove is yellow, one glove... I mean, it's almost an orange.
It's almost like he's gloveless.
And then the other one is gloveless.
What's that? Can I borrow a feeling?
And Iceman, I showed you this picture earlier today, and you called him, "Hey, what's with Fleshman there?"
Fleshman.
So clearly they have white ink. I mean, they use it on Angel's wings. They do not use it on Iceman, so he comes off as Fleshman.
It's the inspiration for Wade Wilson in X-Men Origins.
It is really terrible to look at. So this panel, for instance, they don't actually animate. They just move the camera in and out, and they zoom in on it. And the Iceman does get a running scene, and Beast does get an acrobatic scene, and he speaks quite a bit. Anyway, they basically fight off the Mole Man's moloids. It is awful.
Sure.
That being said, let's see what the next one is. So then they appear again in It's awful. It's not.
So
It's
terrible.
worth checking out just to have the laugh.
Yeah, I mean, it's an artifact, right?
Yes, it is an artifact, and it is on YouTube. And then their next appearance is on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which I did grow up watching, which is like very formative for me. And I had to zoom in a bit just because I wanted them to fill the frame. But Iceman is retelling his own origin, and he gets to meet the X-Men
because he's one of the Amazing Friends, right?
What's that?
Because he's one of the Amazing Friends, right?
Like he is one of the Amazing Friends.
Right.
It's
so
Iceman and Firestar.
That's right. He's one of the main characters of the show.
And it was going to be Iceman and Human Torch, but again, they didn't have the rights to Human Torch. He was tied up with the Fantastic Four cartoon. So this is part of the early 80s. There were a few cartoons. There was a Fantastic Four in the end of the 70s. There was a Hulk, Spider-Man, and Spider-Woman show. And then this is like the second iteration from this company of the Spider-Man show where they added His Amazing Friends. Right. Iceman having his origin, obviously it's like on brand. It's true to the comic book. Like these costumes are right out of the original comics. The drawing looks really awful. But
Beast does look like he's about to drop a deuce. He looks like he's clenching pretty hard.
It's just the worst picture because they're not moving. But in the cartoon, it wasn't so bad. But this still shot it really is atrocious.
Not great. Okay.
Which is adorable. Yeah. Anyway, but the funniest thing is it cuts away from this and then it comes back to another shot. And the one it comes back to is let's find that. The one it comes back to after, like, it cuts away back to Professor X and it comes back to this. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. You can see, by the way, this is the foot of Professor X's wheelchair. It's like the part where a foot.
Yeah, because there's his blanket. There's his blanket.
So it's a bit of a closer shot, so you can see Beast is a little bit, rendered a little more, and Jean's face is still a mess. But the double Cyclops action is so funny.
Two misters. If you have, you didn't think one Cyclops was enough,
right?
Yeah, this team has two.
So one of the neat things with the scene is they run, like, Iceman is narrating how he met the X-Men,
right?
And he narrates about going there and seeing the danger room and meeting all four of the other students,
and meeting Cyclops 1 and Cyclops 2, who together form one actual face.
So he gives them a little bit of an intro each, which is kind of adorable. I've always been a fan of, just hearing him go through that. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And that was in about maybe the 13th or 14th episode where they kind of discuss Iceman's origin. And then there was an episode where it was Firestar's origin.
And they also show the X-Men?
Actually, let me back off that. Not Firestar's origin wasn't the next one. The next episode that had the X-Men was just a straight up, like, let's go see the X-Men adventure. And they go to the mansion, and
look at that.
It's a whole team, and Storm is there in full white.
Yeah.
So that's like probably the first time, like, in animation, there is this debate with her. It seems like, is she wearing black? Is she wearing white? And it rages on through the 90s cartoon, and it influences the action figures. Do you make the action figure white, or do you make it black? And it has to do partially with the way that the artists in the comics render it. How do you make this reflective black costume? So, but when they go to a design for the animation, they're deciding, like, do we make her white or black? And animation has different criteria for aesthetic beauty than comics. Too much black, thick outlines, like, those things are kind of out. It's now very thin outlines and as little black as possible. So Cyclops, where he has usually lots of shadow on his costume, and then the blue highlight is now just rendered in a flat blue. Kitty Pryde is bare-legged. She's called, I believe she's Sprite in this episode. And she has an X logo on her forehead, on her belt, and she has these black boots, which make her look kind of clunky. But there's a good voice performance and kind of a unique sound to her. Obviously, Thunderbird is there. Colossus is Colossus. Oh, this image doesn't have Nightcrawler, but he is in this episode as well. So it's really that team that you and I have spent all this time reading, with the exception of no Wolverine. And Thunderbird is alive, and Kitty Pryde's there.
And no Banshee.
So, there could be a glutton of characters if you have all of them, but they're trying to, I guess, cover some bases by having a particular lineup of teammates. I always get the appeal from, if you're trying to sell a product, I always get it when you put a younger female or a younger character. Like the kid on the team really does help sell it. And they are your what do you call it? Like their way in.
I think
always introduce things.
I think there's natural connection between animation and cartoons and younger audiences, and so
So each of the characters' powers are a little bit toned down, and it's all quite soft. And in this episode, there is a character that takes over the house, and they all have to sort of escape the house. And
the house turns against them.
The house is used against them.
Oh, okay, like Danger Room kind of thing.
Kind of like the Danger Room, but it's more than it's the whole house.
It's the whole house.
And the house is full of traps, so it's kind of a fun one. And and if you were the kind of kid like me who recreated ideas from TV shows with toys, it was like, okay, now we're gonna build a house out of pieces of whatever Fisher Price or Barbie things you get your hands on, and like it's now booby traps. Every room is booby traps, and you're gonna make your heroes go through these booby trap houses. I loved that stuff as a kid, coming up with what were the traps going to be, and so that was a fun episode. And then it comes up with a Firestar's origin episode, and she goes through and talks about a couple different elements from her time with the X-Men, including this great moment where they show Angel and like the perfect yellow gloved costume that I like so much. She calls him Magneto, not Magneto. She calls him Magneto, and
it's canon.
And they show them fighting a Sentinel, and she's inserted into the X-Men lore through this animated show, but she's not actually part of in any way in the comics at this point. She is a character created for the cartoon. And she's been retconned now into the X-Men, but I have a soft spot for her, of course, because of this. And then, as it keeps going, there is one. They show some more footage from this episode, and including this is the first appearance of Wolverine on television, and he is Australian. And as he gets introduced, he says to Firestar, do
your best Australian Wolverine accent.
Oh, he just says, want a piece of fruit? And he kebabs the fruit and then presents it to her like this. And it was so memorable. This was the first time I ever saw Wolverine anywhere. And I thought he was not that cool until I saw the Secret Wars action figure. But the idea of him being Australian, I thought was really interesting now, like looking back on it. Obviously, it's kind of prophetic, because we like to think of things that way. We like to think things all have meaning, and there's like Hugh Jackman is Australian, and there is a rumor from the voice director, I think the like voice acting director, that they were going to change the comics and make the character Australian, like in that he was an expatriated Aussie
who's been living in Canada this whole time.
Living in Canada, so they can match things up. But there's no evidence that anyone at the comic books were ever going to do that. That might have been something like you can imagine how far apart the production studio is for the animated series, and the guys who have control over the Wolverine character in New York, which is Chris Claremont at this point in time. He's 7 years into his run. Like they're not changing anything on him. It's his character to play with, right? They're not changing anything, but this voice guy might have thought that there was some movement happening with the character, but there's no evidence from Marvel's point of view that was ever going to be the case. But anyway, that was a funny scene with him. But the greater shot, I guess, they fight Juggernaut in that episode, is to get all of them at the table as Juggernaut walks in. They're like having the meeting, like, what are we going to do about Juggernaut? And he crashes through the wall, and they're all like just sitting there. This is like, hey, it's Juggernaut. Hey, Juggernaut. We're sitting here.
I guess we'll fight you now.
And they introduced Storm as a new character on this episode, even though it comes after the one she was already in.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is supposed
They're
to.
just kind of gaslighting her. They're just like, "Oh, it's our new member Storm." She's like, "I was here last time." They're like, "Oh, I helped introduce you again."
Right.
Like,
I don't know what the deal is with that. So we're just gonna let it go. But they have great music for the X-Men. They have their own theme they use repeatedly in the series, in their 3 appearances. And I, as a kid, I knew the theme song and would hum it to myself when I played with my figures.
oh, that's cool.
But anyway, they fight Juggernaut, and Spider-Man is like the missing piece to help them win.
Right. But Black Tom isn't there.
Black Tom is not there. And
shame.
the guy who does the voice of Juggernaut is the same as the Hulk, which is Optimus Prime, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, Peter Cullen? Is it Cullen?
Maybe wrong about who did the voice, but they would just use the same roar.
Oh, cool.
Like the Hulk audio clips, they just paste them into roar. Like, yeah, so it was kind of fun. Anyway, that's sort of just some origin pieces to X-Men in animation.
Wow.
And the same studio overall did all the end of the 70s. The FF, the Spider-Woman, Spider-Man, Hulk, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, all those 5 shows were the same production. And toward the end of the 80s, there are, I think, 13 episodes or 12 episodes per season. And they're doing the RoboCop show, and they just decide to bail on the season finale and take the money they were going to do the season finale to RoboCop, which they decided to cancel, and take that money and just spend it on an X-Men pilot around 1988. And by 1989, it comes out on video.
Okay.
So they're trying to get an X-Men series up and running. And let me just preface, one of the big criticisms of this pilot is that the story isn't good.
Okay.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. The script feels like they just give everyone gets like their 2 or 3 lines of cliche. Every sentence you don't need to hear.
Right.
There's no content through the dialogue that makes any difference to anything. It just explains certain plot points and give you a sense of the character, but it really is just about the way the show looks. It, as one of our friends who has been on the show a couple times, David Cutler, talks about, like, the thing that was so great about the 90s eventual animated series is how it does deal with prejudice and does deal with these sort of themes of being outsiders, outcasts, and having to overcome these prejudices. This has nothing of that. It is just the pieces put together to just try and sell this product to the network execs. Like, look, we have something. This is what it would be. And it also feels like it is maybe a 35-minute episode with the beginning and end of every single clip trimmed. So things move at a really fast pace and there is no flow. Okay. But the animation is the shit. So that's really what it's about. It's really about how it looks. So if you can go, if anyone out there, you go to the link in the description and the video is there. This is an HD remaster. And if you go to the 2-minute and 20-second mark, advance your player on the YouTube to the 2-minute and 20-second mark, and we'll count down from 3. We'll go like 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, we'll press play.
Hold on. 22, 22.
220.
220.
You should see a giant blue star.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. 220. Here we go.
You are ready. So we can talk over the whole thing because everyone can watch their own video. They can mute our sound. They can do whatever they want. But as I said, there is nothing that's going to happen in the dialogue that is going to be important.
Right.
And we're not going to pause. We're just going to go right through.
Just going to right through. And you're going to, if you're watching this live stream, you're just going to be watching us watching another screen and talking about what we see on the screen.
Exactly. We are going to be giving our feelings.
All right, get ready for this, people. Watching. Get ready for this, people.
Are you ready for this, Chris?
I am. And I like to point out in comments, Gary Shipman Arp says, I've never seen this. Well, today's your day.
Today is the day, Gary.
Gary.
We're glad you're here. And we're happy to have you along. And this is the day to watch it. So, Chris, you sure you're ready?
Yeah, just hit play when you give me the
No,
go.
we're going to count down. We're going to count down.
Okay. Ready?
So we go 3,
3, 2,
1,
1.
go.
The best film and video. Oh, this music kicks ass.
So the opening theme, in terms of the
turn the
visuals,
music down? Hold on.
this is.
Is that better?
I can't hear anything through your.
I can hear you.
Yeah, good. That's the idea. You're
Can you
supposed to
hear
hear
me?
the show, the animated series, through your headphones.
Yeah, I
and
can hear
me
that.
through the open ear.
Wait, are we watching the X-Men show? Okay, just want to make sure. Oh, here we go.
So Stanley's doing the classic intro, just like he did with all the other ones of this era.
Right. Oh.
So they've called them the terrorist mutants, which I think is like a bit of a buzzword of the time, given that
89,
G.I. Joe,
right? This is 89.
Yeah. So made in 88.
Well, he looks pretty badass, though.
He does. His eyes are in shadow, and the lighting on his body obeys rules. Like the cell shading is obeying the rules of lighting, as opposed to the 90s show, which is just bizarre. When it
Brotherhood
comes to
of Mutant Terrorists.
Yes. Again, that terrorist line.
Oh, that was so good.
And these are a lot of voice actors from G.I. Joe.
So G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe.
And that's like Pythona from the G.I. Joe movie.
Totally. Does Duke get stabbed in this one?
Pardon me?
Does Duke get stabbed in this one?
So Duke is in it. Shipwreck is in it.
Perfect.
You know,
Dusty, love it.
Yes, Dusty's right there.
Yeah, he's there in the desert. So
the White Queen being added is a little strange, but it's fine. It's just, again, trying to showcase everything.
Totally.
Magneto's voice is the same as Zartan. And he's big.
Ooh, that looked cool.
And he's vicious. I love him with the bare hands.
Yeah.
So when you put a character in full gloves, they look distant, and it's like a control thing. Like they're trying to, like they're kind of protected and separate. When he's got bare hands, he's a little bit more like primal.
Well, you can see also where some of the X-Men from the '92 series comes from, because that Magneto looks pretty darn close.
Yeah. So they really go through this very fast. Like she's at that house and reading a letter that some creep wrote her saying, "I know you're a mutant."
Yeah, that's why she went there. It's Ghost Xavier.
Yes. And she is really whining this episode, and I get it. Again, they're just, every character is a heightened version of who they are in the comics. There's no time to go into any of it.
Right. Ooh. Well,
like there's no talk that she just goes to some stranger's house without telling her parents.
Well, the best part about it's foreshadowing the power of the internet, right? Because it's like, this computer knows everything about you because you uploaded a photo, Kitty Pryde.
I feel like if they were ever going to make this a show, they would have.
Oh, I like the X Star Wipe though. That was
cool. That was good.
That was cool.
So this, I'm gonna be quiet. I want you to watch this.
Okay.
This is like the best part of the whole show.
Here we go.
So each X-Men is getting their preview moment.
Of course. Of course.
And we'll talk about the inclusion of Dazzler after.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because there's lots to talk about. Well, not a lot,
Ooh,
but there's
here come the finger guns.
Something to talk about.
Finger guns.
And here, right? Her costume is not white. They go dark blue.
Oh, yeah.
They're mines. That's creepy.
Yeah, don't worry.
Now here's like a thing right from the comic.
There's a thing, Professor. Oh. Oh. Oh, here we go.
Like Storm just owns it.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Like he goes away crying. No, I don't.
Don't you remember?
No.
Awesome.
Like right away.
Right away.
There's no time to breathe.
Of course not. It's a pilot. Oh.
Like, yep, she's in. It's all
commercial break. Oh, here we go. What's the other plane?
Remember they have that little jet skid thing?
Oh, yeah.
Or
like these trees. Oh, those are old trees.
Old growth.
My worthless stepbrother.
Again, terrorist.
Yeah. Oh, kitty.
I like right away. It's like you're thrust into it. You're a part of this now. Like go. I love like the orb around Magneto. Like
it does look
he's
cool.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool. But that suit is the suit he wears in the 92 series.
Yeah.
I just mean,
and video game. Yeah. All this stuff is
exactly. Jeez. Whoa, where'd she go? Nice. Evil laugh. Solid. I would have loved this as a 9-year-old. I've been like, sign me up, man.
I love that Cyclops is Duke.
Nice.
I just loved all the transformation. I'm obsessed with that stuff.
Yeah, he looks great.
And all the costumes are right on model with the comics, which is great.
Exactly. Like you're right. The action, the look, the costumes, all spot on. The Banff isn't quite right.
No, it's a zap.
It's a zap. Aren't they on a space moon?
No, they're at a deep space observatory.
Oh, I thought they were in space.
But
I'm like, why is there fire?
Now they are.
Right.
They were shooting around orbit, like stratosphere kind of stuff.
A classic Toad voice. Lockheed.
This is like a really a fun like way to get Lockheed into the show.
Right.
He's like on the asteroid, and then of course we know how it's going to end, right?
Yeah. I love how we could probably name the other voice characters from other shows in this era.
Yeah.
Right? He's been crushed. Probably in a grave. He's dead. He moved those legs pretty well. I don't think he needs to do that.
But that idea of like Kitty being scared of Nightcrawler, like, and it feeling bad.
I like that Dazzler design too. Always have.
Yeah, it's cool.
Always have. But I guess they kind of do that with Rogue wearing the jacket too, right?
And
like Dazzler's. Yeah, good point. Right.
It's the let's get physical.
Right. Yeah.
Workout.
Yeah, Olivia Newton-John. Yeah. Oh God, that voice is starting to.
Yeah, she's way too much.
She is.
They just have to go a great distance way too soon. Like,
yeah,
she has to be so emotional in every scene. But if Professor Xavier saves her from her feeling of isolation and quells the fears that she's been having for 3 years or 2 years or whatever of being alone, and like he takes a father figure role.
Do you remember? This is a little bit foreshadowing of the first X-Men movie where Magneto, puts his hands on those orbs and absorbs power.
Yeah.
It
also foreshadows the episode of The Simpsons with Scorpio.
The Scorpio, yeah. Hank Scorpio. Commercial break. Third act. Here we go.
Yeah.
Man, this moves fast.
It really, yeah.
Damn it.
It really helps having a mentor figure that can tell you everything that's happening because he can read everyone's mind. Storm is awfully serious. Like, she's like, she stands up to Wolverine twice now.
Nightcrawler is half her size. But I did give you an orb to run away from Magneto in. That wasn't too dangerous a decision, eh, Professor?
Then she murders them all.
She one by one slits their throats. Oh.
But again, like, the quality of the animation, like, this is great.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot too of like the late Robotech. I don't know if that's something where you watched a lot of, but
and they find a way to use everyone's powers several times.
Right, of course. The Blackbird looks pretty sweet too, actually.
Yeah. Remember the stowaway rope?
Oh yeah.
I mean, stowaway.
So there you go. Wolverine's powers of deduction are also crap.
He doesn't smell her.
You can't smell her.
But they have these cool X-Men armor
X-suits. Yep.
are spacesuits, which are really reminiscent of the Transformers movie to me.
Yeah, good point.
What's the kid's name in that one? Wiki is their family name. Spike and Daniel.
Spike.
Oh, yeah. Daniel's the kid.
Daniel. Yeah. How does he shoot through his own space helmet?
Unstable molecules.
Gotcha. Just want to make sure. Wolverine scrapped the spacesuit.
Yeah.
That's my name. Ow!
There's some good stuff coming.
So good. They'll all pair off, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Listen here. If he's going to be an Aussie, we got to call him a dingo.
Yeah, he's a dingo. Ate my baby. Dingo ate my baby.
So they run. Wolverine stays behind to guard the cave.
To guard Toad.
Like each one, you lose a character, you know.
Yeah. That looked cool. Transformation looks cool.
Always. The power up of Colossus.
Oh. That's an interesting use for powers, eh?
It's
like a psychic spear.
Yeah.
Oh.
I find like the Nightcrawler characterization is spot on.
Yeah.
It's all about, there's the showmanship, there's like the good nature, fun-loving swashbuckler.
I mean, here's the question. Does Nightcrawler ever get his due? Like, we love this character, but, you know.
Well, between, 89 and then his appearances, his appearances on the animated series, they shift the character's focus away from swashbuckler to religious, deeply religious, spiritual.
Right.
And I feel like we lost something there.
Wow, Kitty, taking out Magneto.
Yeah, just football tackle that dude.
Yeah.
And then this heroic act of like, he uses his body to maintain the circuit.
It's a pretty huge sacrifice. Are they on the Autobot ship right now? It looks like the Autobot ship from the movie.
They better watch out. They're all about to get killed.
Oh, man, watch out. They're about to bash to the door, and Prowl and Ironhide about to get destroyed.
Oh, Ironhide.
Oh, Ironhide.
I love that crackly ball he's in. I think it's
that's cool. Crackly ball is cool.
It sounds just like you.
I know.
And like, I love that she's feeling remorse about how she's treated him. She's like, I won't leave you behind because like I've treated you so badly and now you're sacrificing.
Yeah.
And they've got the dragon, right? They've got Lockheed.
Yeah, Lockheed, yeah. For some reason bit Magneto's foot and now they're friends.
He knows he's like a puppy. He knows people are bad.
He's now the Phoenix too, by the way. You missed. Oh, you got him.
And like, they're also feeling no G-forces as they're barreling toward Earth.
Yeah, you were, Kitty. No, you're right. Oh. team. Told you so. She's a dingo. Ooh. Not yet, Wolverine.
A little hope, you know?
Yep. Wow. And so will the Watcher.
So this does not get picked up. Probably mostly because...
Do you want me to stop it?
You can listen to the ending if you want to, whatever. Dude, it's the same.
It's a pretty good sound, like theme song.
It is. It's the. I mean, I don't think we're gonna have any debate. The one from the '90s is amazing. People walk around and sing that all the time.
We do it. Heck, we do it, and now it's made its way from the MCU, right? Like that's pretty.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Very true.
All right, Marvel Productions.
So a couple things. So the company that was putting the show together, that was going to make it into a series, it changed hands a few times, and this is one of the projects that just fell through the cracks.
Interesting.
So Fox eventually goes after it, and they make a new pilot. The new pilot is what airs, which is Night of the Sentinels, I think it's called.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch it after this show.
It basically start from scratch. Like they don't take anything from this.
And the team, right?
In terms of the production of like making a thing. They don't take anything, but there are elements that are thematic, or
But all those touchstones that we were talking about watching, the Transformers movie, Robotech. It's very much of that era of animation, and you're right. By 91, 92, when they go into production for that, you can tell it is of that era of animation.
Yeah,
there's been enough
cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been right, totally. Wow, you know what my first takeaway of that watching that is?
Please,
is that our voices aren't so bad compared to those voice actors who, hey, look, I'm sure we're doing a great hell of a job, and obviously, but still, I don't think we sound too horrible now that I've heard their version of those characters.
Well, when you put it that way,
just saying, out there.
I think I do enjoy hearing when you do your characters. I get a good kick out of it every time. For better or for worse.
We're one of those. Yeah.
I need to bring this back up. We need to be able to see this while we talk.
Oh my goodness. Beautiful that is.
I think always about that the show was really fast. Like everything happens incredibly quickly, and I just always dug the action. But this was, again, I'm like 13 or 14 when I finally get to watch it over and over again. It aired on TV once in a while as well. But it was just the only representation of a showcase of the X-Men that existed. So there was this private world that only a few of the initiated got to experience through the comics.
Right.
One or two kids at school, a couple kids at camp knew what these characters were. And there was this moment where like, oh my God, this is at the video store and this is going to be on TV. And now here they are like moving and we can see them, and their powers are all the things you imagine between the panels have come to life. And having a more tangible, more vibrant representation, or more visceral representation, it really meant more than it should have, because these things were so rare. Now, of course, after 13 feature films, I mean, after watching Endgame and the 20 Marvel movies that preceded it, like it's all nothing now. Like we've experienced the top. Like we've watched real people save the universe with their Marvel superpowers.
Right.
They've saved existence. Like it happened. They took us on a 10-year journey. We went through the full thing. Heroes died. Heroes came back. Heroes died. So it all, in context, these little 22-minute things mean very little. But at the time, that was all there was. And so it meant a ton.
Of course.
For any art people out there, if you know who Russ Heath is, a really, really beautiful, I should say, an artist who draws beautifully, an American guy who worked in the 50s through I guess even the maybe early 90s. He did the character designs for the G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero cartoon. So all those really tight on model, like just Duke's face. If you're a real serious art guy, you'll know that he drew issue 24. of Real American Hero, which is why the characters look like the cartoon in that one especially. So he did the character designs for these. So he's great. And his craftsmanship really shows up in how the characters were consistent the entire episode. They were very much on model. I don't know how you felt about Nightcrawler's costume being that kind of grayish blue. They stayed away from the black as they often do.
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. His face too, the kind of shadow came a bit over his eyes or half of his face. But I think it worked.
Not everything translates 1-to-1 from John Byrne.
Right. I think if you're going to try and represent those costumes in animation that time period, Cyclops look a little flat, but generally speaking, that's pretty consistent, pretty well represented. Pretty good.
Even though that costume is a fan favorite for people like me, the I guess we could call it the Don Heck and then Dave Cockrum costume for Cyclops, it is probably one of the most boring costumes for Cyclops in his run. All the iterations, like obviously that Jim Lee one, is
they cool it up for the 92 series.
Yeah, I mean, once he gets that cool flow going, and the straps and the
straps and pockets, pouches.
It's a much more dynamic design. He looks more tactical. He looks more.
He's also bigger. That one, he's like kind of
He's live,
and
right. My only problem always with the Jim Lee design of his costume, and I've said it a few times, is the spirit of it. I think is great, but the choice of subliminally putting a Y on a character who is from an X, I just think is
it like an algebra thing? No? Okay.
If Jim Lee had come up with a design that was an X instead of a Y and kept everything else the same, I just think it would have been superior.
Because if that was like Alan Moore or something, he'd be like, well, the reason I put him in a Y is because X, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there'd be this whole friggin' thesis behind it.
If you don't know what I mean, of course, anyone out there, I'm talking about the straps and the web gear on his chest. It is the shape of a Y. And it just, if you're going to do a letter, you don't do a Y if they're X-Men. Anyway, I digress.
That was fun.
I do love that costume, though.
Yeah,
as I think everyone does. It's sort of like a fan favorite, but it doesn't mean it couldn't be improved.
No.
And then to Dazzler, we talked about her. It's an odd inclusion. She is on the team in the years where this show would have been in production.
Right.
She is a member of that Outback era. Probably issue maybe 215 through about 250. So she's on the team in 88, and they're looking obviously to have some variety. And your options, okay, if you want to throw in another female character, cool. Rogue is another kind of clear option. Psylocke was on the team then in her original iteration, where she's British with purple hair as opposed to Asian Ninja. So we got Psylocke, we got Rogue, Jean Grey, always an option. She was back from the dead by 88. Who else would have been an option? Can you think of anyone else? It was Dazzler.
She's there already.
I was like,
that is who we're talking about. But what's funny? It's funny, and I think this probably speaks to my 80s experience with the X-Men video games, a few things here and there. That is my Dazzler. Like that is the Dazzler. Like the disco era Dazzler, is not the Dazzler that is in my head. That version of the Dazzler is absolutely the one for me.
So I'm trying to cross out like why you don't do Rogue. And I'm thinking it's another flyer.
I mean, there's a few, and strong, right?
Strong
because so Dazzler can shoot things. That's the right.
But so can Cyclops.
Yeah, I suppose.
So I feel like you don't want to do Marvel Girl or Jean Grey because another telepath.
Firestar, you just go back to the.
That would have been interesting, maybe. But Dazzler just kind of fits in as just another girl on the team.
She does.
Nothing too unique about it, but
she's kind of Lady J-ish. Lady J-ish, a little bit.
Yeah, because she has the shorter hair.
Hair and that. But that's like a huge look from that time period, right? So
right. Okay. So
I think
they could have also given Rogue an 80s kind of look, which she had anyway. It would just, it's interesting to see how they played it out. Not criticizing it was a bad choice, just trying to think about the team they put together, because within 3 years, Colossus is not on the animated series. Nightcrawler's not on the animated series. Obviously, Dazzler's not on the animated series. So I get why they took her out, but man, what a difference it makes having Colossus and Nightcrawler as core members. They're such good guys, and their powers are so valuable.
It's interesting, right? Because I mean, we'll have to get into this at some point, but like really that transition, and when you remove the heart of the team, which is what it is, you remove Colossus and Nightcrawler. Like they're brothers. Like with Storm, they form that trio that are really they're doing it for the good of humanity. Like at the very base level, what they're trying to do. You replace it with characters like Gambit, and you replace it with characters like of the next, and you're kind of like who are fun, who can be fun.
Sure.
And you know, anti-hero-ish. Yeah, you're right. Like they move.
Rogue is on a redemptive arc.
Rogue is on a redemptive arc. Wolverine's kind of still the same, but like, you know, it really does change that dynamic. And I can see why certain eras. I mean, we're fans of various things across the eras, but it really can see why those teams are fans would be a fan of this team as opposed to a fan of that team. You know?
Yeah. Man, oh man. I gotta. So
Fleshman, you still looking at Fleshman right now?
I'm okay with us getting kicked off YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Not as a channel, but getting the stream kicked off. I think I can play the clip of this of Fleshman and company. It's really like 30 seconds long, and it's just too funny, and I just want to do it. When you and I feel we're done, I'm just going to click play, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not?
Next week, of course, we're going to go back and read X-Men 150, Uncanny X-Men 150, which is the climax, I guess, of some kind of battle with Magneto.
Yep.
It will be, of course, by Claremont and Dave Cockrum and Joe Rubinstein, and we're going to see why Cyclops is on this island with his girl, Lee Forrester, Captain Lee Forrester. We'll see if the other X-Men make their way to somehow. If there's some kind of, we don't even know what's going to happen. It'll be wild either way. I'm looking forward to that. What else is going on? So we have that. We have no shows to announce yet.
No.
Too early in the year.
Too early.
Of course, you can go to group7comics.ca, the number 7 in our name, as opposed to the word, and you can find all of our stuff there, including the trade paperback A Most Secret Tale, which is out of print, and there are only a few copies left.
Yeah, pretty soon.
So you want to pick those up before they're gone forever, because I don't think we're going to reprint the trade in its current format.
I don't think so.
You can find Group of 7 Comics issues 7 and 8, featuring the High Flying Peregrines. You can also find our Instagram comics in print form, Peregrines, The Obstacle Course of Peregrines Londinium.
Yeah, one-shots.
They're one-shot adventures, no backstory, just go into the action.
Similar to like 24-minute pilot.
Yes.
You just want to jump into the adventure right away.
And of course, you can follow along. We've been doing a daily comic on Instagram for the month of December called Peregrine's Hunter's Moon. And we are 27 days into that. So you can follow us at Group of 7 Comics.
Yeah, final stretch of that one.
Yep. Anything else you want to cover before we take a chance?
No, that was really fun. I had a good time watching that. So many, it's very much of that time period and my age of that time period and watching animated shows at that time, which is pretty cool. And I could hear the voices, and I think voice acting for certain things is a shallower pool, can be a shallower pool. And so the Kitty Pryde voice, I was just trying to, I'm not in terms of annoyance, just in terms of I was trying to place the actor. Because I know that voice, I know the inflections of that voice for other characters. It'll come to me, but it'll come. But I've got someone else in the house here as well, who maybe wasn't watching X-Men, was watching My Little Pony and was watching She-Ra and was watching Strawberry Shortcake and all those kinds of things too. So between the two of us, we have a decent grasp on the animation from that time period. So I had a great time. That was a lot of fun.
Good.
I look forward to do another one at some point. But for us, stay tuned to our socials. The new year is almost upon us. We're closing off 2022 with this one-shot Hunter's Moon, which is kind of a fun way to close out the year, fun way to close out 5 years of publishing comics. And then we move on to phase, it's like how Marvel's into phase 4 now. We're into phase, 1.5, 2.5, I don't even know. But so there you go. Anyway, exciting stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
You ready to try this?
Yeah. And what might happen? I don't quite know.
Well, let's see. What might happen is we'll play this thing. I guess you'll be able to see it where I'll be able to see it. I don't know if the sound will come through. We're just gonna see what's there.
Okay. Let's see
if it works, it works.
You flaming dingo.
Okay, so you can see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, I'm gonna go back a few seconds to get Professor X yelling for them all to come. So here we go. You ready?
Sure.
Let's see what happens. Can you hear it?
Professor X calling. Red alert! Red alert! Mayday! Mayday! Hurry! The professor needs us.
But who dare threaten us now? Whoever it is, we have the power to handle them. An immodest remark, but gracious with all, partner.
Hurry! There he is. Blundering fool! My sun staff will drive you back.
He will keep him off balance telekinetically. One high-intensity power blast ought to stop his army of subterraneans. If you'll wait after class, we'll be glad to review this lesson in tactics. Now all we've got to do is find a way to cork him up.
Gotta cork him up.
Did you just waste a bunch of dead bodies with this?
I suppose we leave that to our frigid fighting friend.
Yes, sir. One cork coming up. There. That solid mass of ice will seal the opening.
Why does he sound like a creep?
As it melts.
Wow.
The overconfident
And that's it for them.
But I will
That's
reach
awesome.
others with my emotion machine.
Some inner voice.
Oh no.
No, now we gotta stop.
Oh no.
Now we gotta stop. That's sorry, folks. Sorry.
So what do you think of that Flesh Man, Iceman?
Wow, the when he was like running,
Yeah.
and his voice, that was wow. So yeah, amazing.
So that was their first appearance ever. Again, they're unnamed. They're not called the X-Men.
Yeah,
they were just subbed in for where the Fantastic Four were supposed to be in that narrative.
yeah.
But that's and they don't appear again for another 15 years.
Yeah, no wonder. They're like, you can't put that Flesh Man back on the screen again.
Until he got his own show.
His own show.
They learned the lesson. We need to put some blue in that white
instead of making
them pink or orangish. Yeah.
But you know what? Going back to Pryde of the X-Men, I would 100% have watched that show as a kid. If they had greenlighted that, and not because I was an X fan, I knew some of those characters. I would have 100% woke up on Saturday morning and watched that show over and over again.
Well, me too. And hopefully they would slow it down a tiny bit, like the pacing.
Sure.
But it was right in line with. It was just as annoying as G.I. Joe, right? And that was my bread and butter.
Speaking of which, by the way, G.I. Joe.
Yes.
Speaking just because I was out with my kid today and we were in a GameStop and I saw obviously a bat soldier, like the bat robot. Like the figs they have.
Why didn't you message me?
I know. They had the Cobra Viper, who's the human version, and like the bat, which is kind of like the Anyway, but they're they're pricey. Anyway, I had forgotten how much. I know the bat is from a later version of G.I. Joe season whatever.
Same as the Viper, 86.
Oh really? Okay, I thought it was a little. Anyway, I always loved that. I always loved the bat troopers, robot troopers, because then because the robots you could like just kill them, destroy them.
Yeah. Right. And Sergeant Slaughter would go in with a butt end of a gun and smash all their heads off.
I just love that. And I love they had the little. Anyway, I saw that. I was like,
they had the lenticular piece in their chest that was changed. There, okay, just a couple things. I've got one for you of a different line, smaller.
Cool.
If you'd like one, I have an extra.
Sure.
And I have them also where they're, instead of them wearing black, they're wearing camo.
Oh,
If you prefer that. And additionally, Super 7 makes them in the cartoon style. So it looks like it walks off the television show, as opposed to one that you can really play with a lot of accessories that are, action friendly. The Super 7 does them in a way that are aesthetically gorgeous. So it's an option.
Very cool.
And they can be blue like the cartoon, or I think they have a black one as well.
That's super
like
cool.
the original one.
I just brought back a lot of memories. Like I think I'm pretty sure I had the 3 3/4 bag. A couple of them.
They were so cool, and the backpack had 3 different arm features.
Oh yeah,
forearm features.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Hey, that's where we got that idea for the. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you cut off a little bit there, but I think you're back.
I made a chick noise.
Yeah, but that's yeah.
Yeah, the cyborg arm.
Cyborg arm.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, that's really
like cyborg arms, check out our comic, Hunter's Moon, Peregrines, every day. All right, cyborg arms.
Good idea.
We got you, people.
That guy needs an action figure now, and now at least we know what parts to get.
We keep so people, if you are following our comics and you like what we do, and we check it out if you do, but we love universe building, and we keep designing and creating things that basically we can turn into toys.
Yeah, but it's
vehicles, characters. I'm just saying we are big on that, and if we ever could, we keep adding things, and like we want to see these things turn into full-fledged toys. So
the heron is coming.
The heron is going to be pretty cool.
I better start drawing that. I better have that one. It's coming soon, so I better.
It's coming soon. We got like 4 days.
I've had a conception, like I've conceived of it, but a concept, I should say, not a conception, a concept. Anyway, let's let that be the end. There you go.
There you go.
Chris, man, thanks for doing this. I can't believe we did this. Long time coming.
Pryde of the X-Men, episode 60 of Previously in X-Men. We're up to 60 episodes.
Next
I had a
week
great
is
time. Thanks so much.
And it'll be in the new year.
It'll be in 2023. So, folks out there, have a great rest of 2022. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for subscribing.
Be safe. Take care of yourselves.
Watching, all those good things. X out. X gonna give it to you. X gonna give it to you.
All right.
Hey, I'm still live. I should probably get out of here. See ya.